We're talking NHL and CFL with our next guest, the good sports doctor out of Winnipeg, Dave Petrishen. And Dave, before we get into the dominance of the Bombers, the run of the Jets, how do you feel about these trades that's going on with quarterbacks in the CFL right now? Confused as me?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think Montreal and Toronto are both in playoff contention. And, the Trevor Harris thing, to me, seems like a salary dump, and he wasn't getting along. And probably all the reports that we've heard and you've documented too, there's a lot of problems in Edmonton in the locker room. So, maybe by getting the broom out a little bit, they think their thing. I think the Edmonton problems go way worse than the locker room. I don't know if the head coach, it doesn't seem like he even knows what he's doing. So I don't know. That's what I think. I think, Montreal and Toronto are both in playoff contention. So, they think they're making their teams better.
Like you say, it makes sense for them, not as much necessarily for Edmonton. I gotcha. So listen, Winnipeg's the place to be. The Bombers 9-1, clinched first for the first time, the earliest since, 1972. The Jets have points in 3 straight. Are you guys finally happy over there?
Well, in terms of Blue Bomber fans, we are. Even though, you might say the crowd was a little bit light on a Saturday night. They had a Winnipeg Jets game across the city at the same time. It is October. Winnipeg, I wrote in the Manitoba Post over the weekend that Manitoba fans are a peculiar bunch. When a few years ago, when they were having trouble getting rid of some seats at IG Field, it was because, Bombers are going to lose. Now, when you talk to somebody going to the game, no, they're going to win. So which one is it? I think you got to get out there. I think it's a tough order for selling the next home game against Montreal, which is another Saturday night tilt at 6:00 start. We're now pushing November. And it's a pretty tall order for like you said, first time since 1972, the Western Final, going to be in December the 5th, 3:30 start. So, in December, that's pretty much sundown. So Toronto Maple Leafs are playing across the city against the Winnipeg Jets that night as well. So we're going to have some tough time selling that game. And it's just not because of the team. It's a lot of weather, a lot of factors. I mean, but, if you are a Blue Bomber fan, you need to go to the playoff game. Like any playoff game in the Canadian Football League. And we've seen that for years. The notable exception is Saskatchewan. For the last few years, the playoff games have been packed. But, I can go back to the days of the 80s and when the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were on the East Division. And we had some East finals, we had some East semifinals, and there was just nobody showing up because it's, the potential for -20 with the wind chill is there.
No kidding. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm enjoying watching this historical dominance of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think the rest of the fans across the country are thinking it's a little much, but I get where you guys are as a fan base. You're like, this is great. You keep the pedal to the metal, of course. But are you hearing this? People are bringing up the 1989 Edmonton Eskimos, 16-2, on their way to being the best team in CFL history, upset in the West Final, as you know, by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Are you hearing that at all in Winnipeg, that you're getting so far out in front that come playoff time, you could stub your toe? Has that been brought up at all?
It has not been brought up at all in Winnipeg. They said that. There was a few people saying that prior to Saturday's game against the BC Lions, but that didn't work out like that. You've seen the dominance over the BC Lions. You've seen the dominance in these games. You see how not only did we pitch a perfect shutout on Saturday night, but the Bombers have allowed 6 points in the last how many games? 9 games or so in the fourth quarter in their games, or actually since the Toronto game. So this team is clicking on all cylinders, and it's going to be a challenge for Mike O'Shea to keep people focused because really the next 3 games are meaningless because they have clinched first place. So maybe cut back a little bit on the practices and use your 60-minute games the next 3 for practices. I don't know what the solution is, but it haven't been brought up before. We've seen that in football before. We've seen teams cruise before, and we've seen, there was in 2011, the Bombers were 7-1 going into Labor Day, and then they just crashed and ended up in the Grey Cup and got destroyed by BC. So there's always that thing in the back of your head that, maybe you are getting too good, maybe you are getting cocky. 2011 was, of course, Swaggerville, and we all know what happened there, and after Coach Richard Harris passed away. So I think the coaching staff, the general manager, fans in Winnipeg, people in restaurants and stuff need to keep the team focused and saying that we got to win these next few games and keep that pressure on. It's hard enough going into a bye week with playoffs, let alone 3 meaningless games. So the eye has to be kept on the football.
Dave, we only have 3 minutes left, and I got 2 questions for you. The Jets and Ducks will wrap up their mini-series to open this season tonight. The Jets finally got back on the snide. What's the real Jets, do you think? The ones that were winless in their opening 3 or the ones that have points in their last 3?
Pretty hard to say. I mean, the first couple of games on the road, the Jets looked awful. Connor Hellebuck looked awful. It was uncharacteristic of the team to play that poorly. And the goaltending, former Vezina Trophy winner. We saw a little bit of improvement in Minnesota, except for dumping a big lead. And they came out flying in the 2 games in Winnipeg. So I think, they've got a couple of guys still sitting out. Blake Wheeler, the captain, Mark Scheifele, the alternate captain, in COVID protocol. So, it's a great time of the year to kind of get some different players, some different line combinations, and give some Manitoba Moose players time to shine. We're going to see tonight. We're going to see if this team was for real. Can they come back out? Can they bounce nicely? Like you said, the best 2 out of 3 with Anaheim.
Hey, and listen, we're big fans of the Winnipeg Ice here. Real big fans of the Winnipeg Ice. And if you guys aren't paying attention, they're 9-0 to start the season. Somebody asked me last night at a Lethbridge, they're like, who's the best team in the East? I said, it's Winnipeg and then everybody else. Is anybody talking about the Ice in your town?
Absolutely. I mean, we lost our radio sports station. The focus has been on the Winnipeg Jets and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and to a lesser extent, the Manitoba Moose, because, they kicked off their season. But, the newspapers and a lot of stuff, there's a lot of coverage going on about the Winnipeg Ice, and it's been a tremendous start. I mean, there was a buzz all off season. This is a very hardworking grassroots team that would be out at, not really at malls, but there'd be businesses. You could see that businesses supported them. Even before they kicked off the season, before COVID, they were out at every golf tournament. And they were really working the room, so to speak. And so this created a buzz. And then, of course, last season being, pretty much a write-off. But, man, to come out of the gate, too. So it's a pretty good time to be a sports fan here in Winnipeg right now.
Absolutely, no doubt. And I'm glad to hear you say that. They've been very aggressive with us, giving us tickets to give away, putting their players on. And I'm glad to hear that they are moving the needle in the Manitoba capital. Dave, we covered a lot, my friend. The Guy Fieri comments are coming in. How often in your life do the Guy Fieri... It's just like Ted Lasso and Jason Sudeikis. DuPont gets it every day. How often do you get the Guy Fieri comments?
I get a lot, especially with posted pictures. People that really don't know me, and when people, I'm in Blue Bomber gear today, and I don't have my sunglasses on, but we like the doppelganger thing. We like that.
Of course. All right, David, my best. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
The sports doctor, Dave Petrishen, joining us from the Manitoba capital, the Slurpee capital. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.